jumping on it to take some time to do this live and use a different technology that I haven't used in before. So, good morning. Good morning. I hope all is well. I hope all is well. So, I am Desiree Cocroft, as you can see with my name down there. But if you haven't been on one of my lives, I am a self mastery architect and an executive life and leadership coach. And I specialize in helping women leaders level up their identity, who they are, so that they can get the results that they actually desire, because they'll believe who they are is the person that is going to do the things that they actually want to do to get the results that they want to have. This is going to help them get the results that they want in the way that they lead their business, whether it's their own business or they work for another company. It's going to help them get those performance results, but also the way that they develop other leaders is going to help them do that and live the life that they desire to live. Like, all because you're a leader doesn't mean you want to actually not have a life. We want to live a life and we want to do it with joy and ease. And so that is my purpose. That is a part of my mission, to help empower and ignite leaders to fulfill their fullest potential. And I do that with helping them with their identity. Self-mastery is the key to identity, because everything that we do today is making up who we are tomorrow. And honestly, everything that we've done up to this point has made us who we are right now. And so the more that we can identify who we need to be to have the things that we desire, we can start implementing things right now that's going to help us be that person. So that is a long intro, but just wanted to give you a sense of where I'm at. And I want to talk a little bit today about the fear factor. And so I talk about in my book, Get Your Life Today, 7 Success Hacks for Life, Leadership, and Business. I talk a little bit about fear. And the section that I have about fear is in the chapter about being the biggest version of yourself. So there is a version of you that you desire to be that you don't think you are right now. If it wasn't, you wouldn't be stressed out about not having the things that you believe you desire to have, because you're not being the person that would accumulate those things. And so when we desire different outcomes in our life, it does require us to step into someone else. And that someone else is still you, but it's a different version of yourself. And I call it the biggest version of yourself. And so if you want different results in your life, you have to become a bigger version of you. And a lot of times the fear factor is what comes into place. We are afraid to do something that we are not comfortable doing or being or showing up as, for a number of reasons. There are so many reasons we can be afraid. One is the fear of not being liked. So I am a recovering people pleaser. I am also a positive intelligence coach. So I do work around saboteurs and some of the things that we tend to do that can be self-sabotaging. And one of my highest ones has a lot to do with being a pleaser. And I've always been that person that desired to please people. I wanted to be liked. I like the feeling of being needed. I like the feeling of being liked. And so you may relate to that as a leader, and it can be detrimental and it can be beneficial. It's our greatest strengths that can become our greatest weaknesses when we're all the way on one side of it. And so when I am balanced, I am great at making connections with people, really getting really conscious of what people need in a space, so that I can make sure I'm getting the best from people, because I'm making sure they get what they need. It can also be great in terms of building connection and helping others learn how to build connections with others, because I can teach people how to do that really well. And it just helps me have a heightened sensitivity to what happens in the room. I'm very highly emotionally intelligent in social aspects. And so with that being the case, when I'm really balanced, it's a great gift to have. When I am not balanced, meaning when fear creeps up, when I feel threatened in some way, it can go all the way sideways to the point where I'm afraid to have conversations so that I can get things resolved. It makes me in a place of not wanting conflict because of the fear of not feeling that people would like me or like my decision making. And so some of the things that can be a strength for you can cause you to have great fear about what you think people will think about you. And so when you think about being the biggest version of yourself, if there's an iteration of you that you know you want to walk into because you want to have better results, and better results can look like a lot of things. Some of it could be the courage to have conversations that allow for you to have more success in your business. Some of it could be having conversations that allow you to have stronger relationships, whether those relationships are personal or business related. Some of it, again, I go back to conversations that are necessary so that you can develop future leaders. And some of it has a lot to do with whether or not you just can live with the fact that you are not perfect and no one is. And there are going to be some times where people might not like the decisions you make or the things that you say and do, and being confident that you did the best thing possible. Because most people that have a fear of being liked genuinely want to be looked at as a positive image in the world. And so that's great, but it can't be to your detriment. And so maybe that's what's in the way of you really getting into that person that is going to be the version that is needed for you to do the things that you desire in your business, in your life right now. And so I want you to consider, like, well, is that something that is holding me back from who I need to be? Because again, I am a self-mastery coach. It's really important to me when I work with clients and when I work with leaders, when I'm training leaders, to help them really consider who they are, get really self-aware of who they need to be so that they can step into the action that will get them the results that they want. And so consider, am I not doing the things that are necessary because I am on the root, as a root cause. I'm afraid of being liked. I'm afraid that people won't like me because maybe I have had experiences with people that have been assertive and have been mean, like just flat out mean. And I don't want to be associated with that. Sometimes our experiences create stories in our head about what it is that that's in conflict with what it is that we desire to do. And so sometimes we have to let go of those stories. All because we've had an experience with someone doesn't mean we'll have to be that person. One example is that I know some of my clients, and I've even struggled sometimes, when you desire to have more income in your life, when you desire to create generational wealth, there can be this part of you that doesn't want to look like you're not giving back to your community. You don't want to be judged and all the things. And there's a part of you that needs to let go of worrying about if people are going to like you around that, because at the end of the day, that's their own stuff that they need to deal with. And you get to deal with your own stuff. And so we have to consider, how are we taking other people's stuff? How are we letting those things kind of be what has created our identity in such a way that is really holding us back from our next space? And so is the fear of being liked in your way of being the biggest version of yourself? The next thing is the fear of rejection holding you back? And so the fear of being liked and the fear of rejection can go hand in hand. I see them a little different in this way, because I feel like the fear of rejection isn't necessarily whether people like you or not, even though you can interpret it that way. Sometimes we don't do a thing because we just don't want people to tell us no, right? We don't want people to tell us no. It doesn't mean they don't like us, but maybe they're not accepting who we are or what we're requesting in this other phase of who we are because of whatever reason. And so sometimes the fear, not of just being liked, but the fear of being told no, or the fear of being wrong. Oh no, I'm wrong. As if you've never been wrong in your life. A lot of times the fear of rejection is because, in our ego, it's like we don't want to feel like we're not right. We don't want to feel like we're not the expert. We're the leader. And someone tells us that something's not good enough. Maybe it's a proposal that you want to write. Maybe you want to shift into a different leadership role. Maybe you want to move a transition, out of your job into something else that you desire to do, whether that's work with another company or start your own business. And we're being afraid of saying the thing that we desire because we don't want someone to say no, or even the people that support us in our life. We don't want them to say, like, that's not possible because of the weight that we put on them to accept the things that we do. And so there's a lot of reasons of rejection, that fear of rejection, that keeps us from wanting to step into the next thing. And some of it is just, things that we made up in our head, worst case scenarios of, well, if I do this, what if people say this about me? And then, everything is, going into shambles, whatever. We make up all kinds of stuff in our head that really keeps us from moving forward. So consider, is that like the talk track in your head right now? Is the talk track, oh man, I'm really worried about if I'm going to be accepted, if I'm going to be liked, especially if you're doing something new that you've never done before. and you're worried about if people are going to think I'm good enough. Sometimes it's that fear of our own wanting to be better, right? Not wanting to be right, not wanting to be that person that doesn't have all of our T's crossed and all of our I's dotted. I think, especially in these internet streets and in the real streets, but I think specifically the internet has ruined us in a lot of ways. There's good and bad in a lot of the things that we experience in our lives. And one of the things that I would consider a bad thing, or something that we just have to mitigate, is the fact that on the internet streets, it can give you a lot of anxiety about being right, because there are so many thumb warriors, is what I call them, thumb warriors, that are so quick to critique every little thing of people that they don't even know, and have no sensitivity about people, that there's humans on the other side of the screen. And so with that being said, sometimes we can put a lot of our own emotions on the line. We don't separate that a lot of times online, and I'm guilty. I'm a human being. We see things and we get enraged, or we start taking it personally, like, oh, am I really a sucky person because this person didn't like what I did? Or I had a typo. Does that mean that I'm sucky and I don't know how to like read? All the things. We're so overly critical, and it makes us so perfectionist about every little thing, even if it's something that we don't desire to do online, right? It's something that we desire to do in real life, but we're scripted. We see so many things of people being critiqued. And when we take that in, sometimes it keeps us from being courageous, because of our worry of being wrong, or that fear of rejection, all of those things coming back to play. And so, is that something that's in your way? Is that something keeping you from being the biggest version of yourself? And if it is, it's something for you to consider. Am I going to let that get in the way of the thing I actually desire? Because the fact of the matter remains, you're not going to get what you desire being the same person. I'll say that again. You are not going to get what you desire being the same person. It is not possible. It's not happening. I mean, you can do it and you'll survive for a little bit, but there inevitably you're going to have to level yourself up to a place of being able to handle the next thing that you have in front of you. And so, for example, if you're looking to be in a different leadership role, and there's some things that you need to kind of tighten up with your executive presence, or things that you need to tighten up with the way that you manage your emotions, the way that you develop people, whatever the case is, there are going to be some things that you need to tighten up in that area. And with that being said, if you are stuck with being, where you are in your headspace around the fear of rejection, or people pleasing, or the fear of being wrong, and all the things, you can apply for that next position and still get it, and you are going to have to do some things, or you are going to be just frustrated to no end, being in a space, being really just a fish out of water, if you don't do anything in the mean and in between to kind of make sure that you're ready for the next thing. Because you're never going to be all the way ready. So yes, apply for the next thing, start the business. I don't care what nobody say, you're never going to be all the way ready. What you need to do though, and I said this in a live that I did a couple of days ago, is that be open to continuously learning. You're never going to know it all at once. We're never going to know everything we need to know. And we're also never going to execute everything that we know we need to apply. Just a fact, right? And so with that being said, we do need to jump in sometimes without, worrying about having everything 100%, because it's kind of a fallacy in general. At the same time, when we know that there's some gaps that we have, jump in and just know that you're going to have to, continuously learn. You're going to have to do some growth. You're going to have to be okay with failure, and failure is feedback. You're going to have to be okay with continuously learning and growing. The thing is, when you go into a space already knowing like, okay, I am like maybe 40% ready for this, you just have to know that, hey, I got to be ready to execute and go. And be ready to do some things that I might not have had to do if I might have been feeling 80% there or 70% there, which is probably average anyway. But, sometimes when we have a larger gap, we already know it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to go in here and work for real on the front end until I have some level of comfort. And that's okay too. If you feel like you need to jump into whatever it is that you want to do, and you're not feeling as confident, I say go for it, because I think confidence also comes when you make a decision. So make a decision and do it. And then when you're in it, just know like, okay, it's going to be some things I need to learn, And I probably need to do some serious front work because of the gaps that I have. And that could work for some people, and for others that might really be nerve-wracking for you. But either way, I think it's really important to come back to what I'm talking about in the first place, is being aware of what you need to be so that you can be prepared for the next thing. And in this, live, it's really important that you consider the fear factor in the block that you may be experiencing that's keeping you from making the decision to level up your leadership style, your communication, your presence, the way that you develop others, the way that you interact with others, the way that you are balancing or not balancing your leadership and the way that you live your life, the way that you are almost self-sabotaging yourself in the way that you work, the way that you are procrastinating on making a decision to transition. These are all things that are kind of just a way that a fear factor may be manifested in your leadership right now. It can be manifesting in you not taking the step you need to take to transition to another leadership role, transition to another job, do something that is going to heighten your career, do something in terms of starting your own business. If that's a desire, you don't have to do that, obviously, but there are some of us, I am one, like that. Sometimes I hesitated for a long time to start doing coaching, consulting, speaking, and all that, even though it was a desire of mine, because I just felt like I didn't know how to make time for it. And then one day I just said, just do it, make the time, just do it. And I definitely wasn't ready, and I didn't know what I was doing and all the things. But I had to start somewhere, and I had to be open to just knowing I was going to be in a learning phase for a while because of the timing that I had to manage all the things that I was juggling. And so I hope that is helpful to you on this morning, as I am going to get my life together and get on this plane. But I wanted to just make sure that I share this with you because it's been on my heart about fear factor, especially because I've had, people, talking to me just after being at this conference about being held back around some of the things that they want to do with their staff, some things that people want to do personally. And fear is just a big monster that doesn't necessarily go away. Just the neuroscience behind, fear, as a human being, the way our brain is set up is to keep us safe. Right? We have mechanisms. We have parts of our brain, the amygdala, that is trying to keep us safe. And so it's trying to keep us safe from physically, not losing our life. And, mentally, emotionally, right? We're always kind of navigating whether something is a real fear, like is a house burning down just because someone said they didn't like me, right? Or is it something that we can deal with? Like, that's their issue. I didn't really do anything to really have to own that, so I'm going to keep it moving. So because we have those natural things that are happening, we can sometimes have a hard time of knowing what's really happening in real life or what's just happening in our minds. And so with that being said, if that is something that you find to be true, maybe the story that you're telling yourself in your head, the narrative, has been said so long that that's what you believe to be true, and in actuality you have power to make a transition in your career, your path as a leader. You have the power to change the culture in your organization. You have the power to properly develop those that you work with. Like, you have a lot of power that you have to do things well. And so it's important that you know that power. And the only way is to quiet all the noise, quiet all the noise, and consider who you need to be so that you can step into the thing you desire. Again, I hope that was helpful. I am going to jet out of here. And if you liked what you heard, please share. Please like, or love. You can make comments. And if you didn't see this from the beginning, feel free to watch the replay. Go ahead and hashtag replay in the comments so I know if you saw it from the beginning and who was here at the original live. I will try to get back to all the comments. I'm about to jump on a plane. So I'll get back to it then when I, get my feet on the ground again. But it has been a pleasure just chatting with you on this morning. And I will talk to you all the next time. Bye.